At some point, after I began speaking from that place, something became clear that I hadn't expected. Not all at once, but gradually through the experience. This wasn't just a different way of handling my thoughts or a better way to manage my emotions. It was something deeper than that, because what was changing wasn't just what I was feeling. It was the relationship that I had with myself, and more specifically, with whatever this presence was that I'd begun to notice. Because for most of my adult life, everything I did was based on one idea, that I needed to change what was happening inside myself in order to feel better. And even when I became more aware, more spiritual, that basic pattern never changed. I was still trying to move away from something and toward something else. But this was different, because now, instead of trying to change the experience, I was relating to it, engaging with it, from a connection that already existed. And what I started to notice is that my experience itself began to shift. Not because I was trying to change it, but more because I wasn't alone in it anymore. There was a response, a kind of participation that didn't come from my thinking. And that changed something fundamental, because it meant this wasn't about control. It wasn't about effort. And it wasn't even about getting somewhere. It was about relationship. A relationship with something that had always been there, but that I had never learned to recognize or engage with directly. And once that became clear, a lot of the questions that I had been asking began to fall away. Not because I had the answers, but because I was no longer approaching them in the same way. I wasn't trying to figure everything out, or fix everything, or force a result. I was learning how to stay in and trust that connection, and respond from my thinking self to something deeper than it. And that changed what felt possible. Not in some dramatic external way, but in the way that I experienced everything. Because now, what mattered most wasn't the outcome, it was the relationship I was in while moving through it. And that was something I had never been shown. Not in the way this made clear. And looking back, that's what this entire process had been leading to. Not a technique, not a system, but a different way of being in relationship to myself, and whatever it is that meets me there. And from here, I began to sense that there was a kind of power here that I had never known. If you're interested in more, look for the link in the description.